You guys, but time is just soaring by. So welcome. I'm going to go ahead here and start the recording. I guess I'm already recording. Sorry, I thought I'd paused it. Anyway, good morning and welcome to the Inner Circle Success Call. We'll go ahead and get started because I want to honor your time. If we got a couple of people that it's their first call, so that's awesome. And what we'll do today, because we do have a couple new people, is we will combine introductions and celebrations, because one of the things that I always do on my calls is I always start with celebrations, because as entrepreneurs, we just don't celebrate enough. We're always about what's next and moving forward, and we forget to stop and pause and celebrate the things in our life and our business that we're excited about. So I guess I'm going to start today with just an overall celebration. I think I shared on a couple with a couple of you last week when we had calls. It just feels like I'm finally starting to get back into a routine after the passing of my stepmom and with everything going on, and it feels good. I mean, it's the life goes on, and we never forget those that we lose, and they would want us to move on and be happy and healthy and do what we get to do and be who we get to be in the world. So I feel like I'm finally kind of getting back into my groove, and I'm really excited about that. So who would like to go first and share what they're celebrating today? Oh, and by the way, when you share your celebration, also introduce who you are and what you do, because we've got a couple of new people. Teresa, is it you want to go first?
I don't mind to go first. My name is Maylee Gallion. Everybody looks at my name and says, "What do you do with that?" But it's really just Southern. It's just Maylee. And my company is Turn It Up Consulting, and I help small business owners deal with overwhelm by helping them build relationships with their team and use some proven collaborative strategies to get the very best out of their people. I live in Upper East Tennessee. I'm a lifelong Southern girl, and I'm just thrilled to be here.
Good. And what are you celebrating today?
I am celebrating the first meeting of my first paid mastermind, which will be Friday. I'm excited to get that group started.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, welcome. We're glad to have you here. Who would like to go next?
I'll go. Hi, I'm Teresa. Hi, Judy. We spoke on the phone. I'm Teresa, and I am an intuitive spiritual life coach and soul astrologer. And I am celebrating, I've been working on putting courses together, and but I have so much other stuff going on. And so I actually am facilitating a workshop I started last Thursday for the next 3 weeks. And so what I decided to do is to throw all the content and PDFs into this course I decided just to make up like that. And I've created a whole course. That's awesome. So I am like celebrating that because, you know, it's like, boom, it just happened. And it was so easy because I didn't overthink it. And I made like 3 videos I haven't put up. And so I'm super excited about that. And I can continue to add to it as we move through the workshop. So now everybody has the link. There you go. There's all the work. So
that is so awesome. And then the next step is you can make that evergreen, and it's something you can use as
I'm going to sell it.
As a revenue generating tool, or as a bonus for another course or whatever. So so awesome. I love it. And again, what I love about that is just leveraging an asset you were already creating. Mm-hmm. So it's not creating a bunch of new content, which just overwhelms us and adds more work. It's continuing to use the content we have in innovative ways. Love that.
Yeah, I didn't have to make up anything. It's just I moved all my content in and put it in all the right spots other than the videos that were easy. So yeah,
that's great. Congratulations. Who's next?
I'll go. Hi, I'm Lisa, and I'm also an intuitive. My company is called Inner Wisdom Awakening, and I really support predominantly women through the journey of activating their own higher consciousness and awakening to deeper spiritual clarity and understanding so they can be in greater expression of their purpose and live an extraordinary life. So my celebration, there's a couple of things. There's been a lot of reorganization in my world. And I got really clear about my assistant. I made some really big decisions around my assistant, and basically I'm stepping her down and I'm stepping a new assistant up. And the onboarding of my new assistant, it's like really honoring where her creative genius zone is. And so that's working really well. And it's, it's kind of a slow process, which is actually good. I usually just dive. So it's good to get really clear of what their creative genius is. So, and two, Teresa, my new support person is repurposing a lot of old stuff that I did, and like editing old 4-week workshops that I took. And, I'm like, oh, I have all this content. I'm such a content creator. I'm like, but what about repurposing all this stuff? So that's really creating some freedom in my life. And my other celebration is I've really nailed my prices down, and I'm about to make announcements for the up level of my service. And it's a pretty big step up, and it feels really, really awesome. The time is right, and I feel freedom in that. So
that is, and I just want to just acknowledge you, because the growth that I have seen in you stepping up and stepping into your power is just amazing. And it just, there's a twinkle in your eye. I don't know how else to put it, that just really speaks to you stepping into who you are and who you're becoming. So
thank you, Sherry. I also just wanted to give my love to you and your loss and your reorganization of your own life too.
Yeah.
So thank you for us.
Yeah, it's it's never fun, and it's part of life, right? I mean, it's part of the cycle, and so I appreciate just so many of you and my other clients just being patient with me while I got through it too. So thank you, you guys as well. Very cool. Let's see, Laura or Judy?
Sure, I'll go. I'm Judy Dang, based in San Francisco. I'm a productivity coach, and I'm celebrating bringing my big clunky handbag to Sherry and saying, hey, Sherry, here, I've got all this stuff in here. Can you help me organize this? This is like my business for the last 4 years. It's a mess. So I'm celebrating meeting Sherry.
Well, thank you. And it's not a mess, it's an opportunity. Because it always gets messy before it gets clear, right? I mean, it's like the biggest breakdowns lead to the biggest breakthroughs. So I'm glad you're here too. Laura, are you there? You're muted and we can't see you on video. She's popped out before, so she might, maybe, I'll give her just a minute here.
Hey, I'm here. For some reason, my video is not, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you fine.
Awesome. So I'm Laura Hackle, and I'm a vibrational healer and sound healer and a mom empowerment coach, especially working with moms whose kids are here to change the status quo, which means a lot of LGBTQ plus kids. And I am celebrating in the last week like a renewed passion and energy for my business and what's possible. Like, I think I let a lot of things make me fearful of like reaching out and leading the group and figuring out what to go next. And I had a big explosion in my group last week that actually turned into something really positive and got me very clear about what I'm standing for. And so that's freed me up to make some steps forward. So I'm excited about that.
That is so awesome. And I want to acknowledge you for your grace in handling it. And we won't go into the details, but it's actually one of two things that I wanted to briefly touch on today before we dive into questions. For those of you that are new to the call, there's kind of 3 sections usually to our calls. The celebrations first. The second thing is most of the time I'm going to bring something that's a short 10-minute or so section on something new I'm learning, something I'm seeing that's a commonality across the group, or just something I want to bring into the space and have you think about. And today I had 2 quick things. Oh, and by the way, the third section is open Q&A, and that's your time for everybody to ask whatever's coming up and anything kind of goes. So there's 2 things I wanted to bring to the group today. And the first is actually inspired by what Laura just shared. And that is, how do you deal with haters? Now, what I mean by that is, as a business owner, we're in the public space, right? And whether it's a Facebook group that you're running, and a couple of you have pretty successful Facebook groups, or it's just a business page, or it's writing an email that you write to your community, right? There are going to be what I call haters. And haters show up in all different forms, but the way that it feels when they show up is not so good, right? Because they can be pretty nasty. And so, and I want everybody to share kind of their experience when they've had this happen. But it can be everything from people, just making nasty comments on your posts on Facebook, to people responding to an email that you sent with something that's unkind. And when it happens, you have a couple of choices. You can respond with love in the hope that they will see the possibility that maybe there's a different way of looking at things. Or honestly, the other response in a black and white world is, you can ignore it, delete it, and take it out of your space. And I'll be honest with you, over the years, I have done both. And what I have learned is that most of the time, responding and engaging with the haters only creates more drama and more tension and more angst on your part. So and again, this is just my opinion, so I want everybody else to chime in. But what I have found works best is, if it's a nasty comment on Facebook, just delete them. If it's a nasty response to an email, don't respond at all. Just get them out of your energy and move on with clarity, sending them love, and knowing that they have their own journey, and you frankly just don't need to be a part of it. So I guess I'll start with Laura. And is there anything you would share based on your experience with the quote unquote nasty posts that kind of happened in your Facebook group?
Yeah, so the thing that I wish that I would have known, so basically somebody at a high level, somebody posted something that, was a tiny bit off, and then a whole bunch of people in the group basically attacked her. And my group is very kind and generous. And so they went down this path, and I started by deleting posts, which got them even madder, which was fine, because it got me to stand in and say no, I'm not an admin, I own the group, and here's my vision for the group.
I think we lost you, Laura. I think we lost her. Are you there, Laura? We may have lost her. So we'll come back. We'll come back to her if she's able to get back on. So for others, what's been your experience? Anything come up for you when I share how to deal with, oh, there's Laura back, how to deal with the haters, so to speak?
I have never experienced it, Sherry. I've seen it in other groups, but I personally have never.
Yeah, and luckily it doesn't happen that often. I mean, I've been as you all know, I've been in this coaching world for 20 years, and I can certainly count on two hands the number of times it's happened to me. Maybe not much more than one hand, but when it happens, it hurts. I once my favorite one, and this didn't hurt, it just made me laugh, quite honestly, was I recorded a video. I was at an event, and I had on, it was when they still kind of are popular, those shirts that have the cutout in the shoulders. And I recorded a video on how to get Grace testimonials. And one of the posts on the reactions to the post was something like, you shouldn't wear shirts with, I can't remember how it said it, but something about fat shoulders. And I'm like, I'm sharing business results, and that's what you're worried about? And so you just delete it. So sometimes it's personal like that, or sometimes it's like what Laura was sharing, where it's people are attacking each other and it's not even you, but that reflects on you, particularly if it's when you own a Facebook group. So I hope you never experience it, Judy. And if you do, just know that it's just part of the deal. Laura, sorry, we lost you. Are you back?
Yes, I am back. Sorry, I'm trying to get good cell service.
That's okay.
So what I wished I'd known was that like what I would do again, I guess I would say, is actually like write down the names of the people I'm most concerned with, because once you delete a post, you have no idea what those names are.
Yep.
And then to delete the entire post. Because by deleting the different pieces of it, like it allowed another forum to people to go crazy. And you know, I have, like, what I know is this whole area, like the LGBTQ teens and LGBTQ people, is a topic. Like when I run a Facebook ad, I get nasty grams on it all the time, and I just delete those and delete those, and people quoting the Bible and whatever else, that's fine. But it's like when it's within the group. And so I deleted it, and a couple of people in the group like private messaged me to let me know, hey, something's going on. And, you know, a few people reported it. And so all of those things really aren't acceptable, but it allowed me to then do a Facebook Live and basically say, okay, so we've had some excitement, and, you know, like, and I want to get back to the why I created this group and what's great about it, and thank everybody that was supportive, and to let you know, here's what I stand for, and to also let you know, like, I'm sensitive to how this went down because I see that in myself too. And here's how I see it in myself, and that's why I don't want it in this group. And so I got really good feedback from that as well. And in the end, the person who started the post left, and the people that were so angry left. And I hold it like that was right. Like, and I can see, like, in the movement, I can see why people can be so angry. And it's just like with all the other movements, some people fight it with anger, and that's fine. But I'm clear, like, that's not what my group is for. My group is really for the moms, and to empower them so their kids can be loved.
Yeah.
You know, and if that means that a few of them are having difficulty, like, they get to be treated with kindness while they're trying to figure that out for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you handled it with grace, and I think your group is going to be stronger for it. Honestly. Yeah. Cool. Thank you for sharing that. Anything else come up for anybody around that? Around haters in general?
I actually
Go ahead, Laura.
once heard a coach say, and I reminded myself of it, but it's kind of hard in the moment, that when you have a hater, you get to celebrate because it means that your message is so clear that somebody can disagree with you. And it also means that the people who respond to it can find you.
That's so true. I think that's very true. And you talk about your messaging being polarizing, because only when you're truly polarizing are you breaking through. So yeah, love it. Okay, cool. So thank you for that. Then the other thing that I wanted to just very briefly show you is I found a new tool that I'm playing with that I just wanted to share with the group. It's called Venngage, and I'm gonna share my I'm gonna share my screen here. It's called Venngage, and it's a templated tool to create infographics. And I know I've talked to some of you. Patty isn't on today, but remember she showed on one of the calls. Patty Marin is a transition coach for empty nesters, and she's creating the Empty Nesters Guide 2 series for her free gifts, and it's kind of an infographic kind of setup. So what this does is it's templatized to help you create infographics, and infographics are one of the free gifts that work really well because they're easy to consume, they're graphic, they're visual, same thing I guess, and they're also pretty easy to create pretty quickly. So they work great as free gifts. So the way that it works is you have these templates that you can pick from as a starting point for creating your own infographic. And of course, there's a free version, so free is always good. There are a lot of templates that, of course, you have to upgrade to get them, but there's also places that you can start, which is always awesome. So if I click on here, this plan type, and I click on free, then it'll only show me the free templates. If it'll let me click, for some reason it's not. Huh, weird. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and go on. So you can click the plan type and only look at the free ones. You can also pick page size. Looks like for some reason my screen is frozen. Oh, there it goes. So you can pick page size if you want to do letter, or if you don't care. On an infographic, sometimes they're not letter size, they just keep going long, if you will. But if you wanted to do a letter size one, you can click on letter, and then it'll only give you the ones that are set up in the letter format. And then you basically can go by type. So if you see over here on this left-hand side, there's categories. So let's say I was doing an infographic and I wanted to do my 5-step process for something. Then you click on process, and it brings you all of these templates that you can use to create your own infographic. So you can see some of them are set up kind of left to right in terms of the process. Some of them are not very step oriented. They're just more kind of 1, 2, 3 across. Some of them are more visual than others. But basically then you just go through and you pick the template that you like. And let's say that I liked, oh, I don't know, let's say that I like this one. You can preview it first if you want to, and it'll show you kind of what it looks like. And then you can actually, oh no, this one's an upgrade. So this one is the one you'd have to do in the upgrade. You'd have to go back here to the free. So let's say I like this one, let's say. Then you can preview it, and then you can just say create, and it opens up that template. So it's kind of like Leadpages or ClickFunnels, in that you can click on a template, and then when it opens up, you can change things. You can change the colors. You can change, of course, the copy. It's a little less customizable than I would hope. Like for instance, there was a format I liked that had 4 steps in a process. Well, I have a 5-step process, and there was no way to turn that 4-step chart into 5 steps. So there definitely are some limitations. But it's just one of those resources that I wanted to share because I know a lot of you are interested in doing infographics, and it can be relatively expensive to have somebody create an infographic for you from scratch and make it look really good. So you can see here, if you go in here now, you can go in and you can change the copy in here to whatever you want to put it. You can change the photo that you put in here and put your own photos in to make it your own. And of course, you can also change the colors. So just a quick little tool. I love sharing new tools when I find them because we always are looking for things to help cut down on the time that it takes us to do things. And I think this could be one that could be really useful for a lot of us. Any questions on it? It's VENNGAGE.com is the website.
Have you used the Canva infographic?
I do use Canva infographics. You know, there have been times when I haven't found what I really liked in infographics in Canva. So this one is specifically targeted to infographics, and there's just a lot more, at least from what I can see, there's a lot more options on infographics in this because that's what they're focusing on. So it would be like a Canva alternative for infographics, yes.
And can you just remind me all of the uses of infographics? So
Sure.
An opt-in, an ad run, yeah, what all would we use it for?
The biggest use is going to be for a free gift. So it would be where you would want to create an infographic that talks to a specific pain point or problem that your ideal client has. So you might want to create an infographic on I'm thinking anxiety, but Laura, that's Laura. Laura has a lot of anxiety comes up.
I want to create one for like a tool guide for the highly sensitive person.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So in that case, you probably would do something like, let's see, how do I get back to the main part here? Let's go back to templates. So that could be something that would be, it's not really a process or a timeline. It would just be more of a flow, if you will, or unless you wanted to do something as a, 6 6 tools for the highly sensitive. You could maybe do it that way. But like here's an informational. There are ones that are, like this one, for instance. And when I hover over it, it creates that preview thing. But there's little boxes that have each of the ones. You could have each of these boxes be one of the tools, and then have below it have it be a little bit of copy on how they would use that tool. And then you set it up with an opt-in page for a free gift to use it for list building. So it could be used with a Facebook ad. It could be used to hand out to put on the back of your business card. It could be something you offer them as a free gift at the end of a Facebook Live or of a live speaking engagement. Free gifts, most of you have, I think all of you, have at least one. Maylee, I'm not sure, do you have a free gift right now? Yeah, okay, good. So, I think all of you have at least one free gift. You will find that over time, you will create more and more free gifts because they're going to have different purposes. So the tool that you're talking about, Lisa, I could see you using it on a Facebook Live, for instance, if you were talking about tips for the highly sensitive. And then at the end, say, if you wanted to list build, it's a way to get people from your Facebook group into your email list, saying, I just created this guide of the 10 tips for the highly sensitive. If you'd like it, go to, and then give them a web address for a landing page, and they have to opt in to get it.
Yeah, YouTube as well. That's a good.
Yep, YouTube as well. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and actually that's just a good reminder is everything you create, whether it's a Facebook Live, a YouTube video, an email, literally every piece of communication that you put out there, one of the questions you need to be asking yourself is, what is the action that I want people to take from this content? Because every piece of content you put out there has a next step action. It's not always buying something. In fact, it's probably only buying something around 20% of the time or so, but it could be responding to you if it's an email. It could be just trying to get engagement and having people answer a question. It could be opting in for a free gift. It could be signing up for a consult. It could be sharing with you a poll. But there always needs to be a next step action, because you do want to start to train, if you will, your community to take action from what you're putting out there. Okay. Does that make sense, Lisa, in terms of how you would use it? Cool. Okay. So add this one to your list, VENNGAGE.com. Actually, I think I have a resource list in the portal. I'll check on that because I've got a list that I keep that's just kind of websites that I use for various things. I'll have Nicole check and see if that's in there. Okay, so that is that. So let's move on to the third section of today's call, which is all about you. And this is open Q&A. Everybody gets a chance to share what's going on, ask specific questions, get support, get feedback from the rest of the group, or whatever is coming up. So who has something they would like to start with today?
I do.
Okay, go for it.
So I'm giving a webinar tomorrow morning. I was invited by a Women's Career Center, and my topic is on productivity, and it's specifically about rethinking productivity during pandemic.
Okay.
So it's not a salesy kind of talk, it's a content talk.
Yeah.
And the audience are women looking to transition back into careers after a pause.
Okay.
So pretty much women in their 40s and 50s.
Okay. Okay.
And this is not my target audience, so I'm wondering what to offer them at the end of my talk.
Okay. So you say it's not your target audience. What makes it not your target audience?
They probably need a career coach or something like that. Someone to help them.
They're not sure what they're going to go back to.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So in that case, what I would do is I would offer them some sort of a resource that may or may not actually be related to something you do specifically. So if there is, do you have any resources, even that another coach has that you've come across that's more of a career coach that you could offer, or a website that you know of that's great for making that transition, or something that kind of ties the productivity in, but doesn't create work on your part? Because if you're going in to speak somewhere and you know they're not your ideal client, then the first thing I would do is actually back up, Judy, and say, was it worth your time to say yes? And getting more selective in terms of where you go, and where you're at right now, you're committed. So what could you offer them that will not take up more of your time? Because you don't want to offer a consult because you already know they're not your ideal clients. So, and
Right.
you're not going to sell them anything because it's not a selling webinar anyway. So I would focus on what is a resource that you could give them that would add value, have them see that you are adding value to them, even if it's not something that would move them forward with you.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Thanks. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Because I was thinking, should I offer them like a freebie or a downloadable something, or?
You could, but it kind of comes back to, if they're not your ideal clients, you don't really want to add them to your list, because if you keep adding people to your list who aren't your ideal client, they're not going to open your emails, they're not going to buy, and all they'll end up doing is actually hurting your deliverability, which hurts your overall opt-in rate for your whole list.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Cool. What
Can I
else?
piggyback on that?
Yeah.
So what, I'm at loss for a word right now. I'm having a senior moment. What criteria then would you suggest that you use in selecting the projects or events that you say yes to?
Oh, great question.
Because
Yeah.
I know that I'm looking at, I have a whiteboard over here on my wall, and I'm looking at my whiteboard, and there are 2, maybe 3 things on that whiteboard that are, they're kind of iffy as to, but my goal has just been move forward. And what I realize is in taking action and moving forward, I'm choosing some things that aren't necessarily putting me in front of my target market.
Yeah, and that's okay, particularly when you're earlier in the journey, because it's kind of like the analogy I'll give you is with consults. When you first start doing free consults, my recommendation is always do as many as you can with whoever will talk to you, because it's practice, right? It gets us more comfortable doing it, and then as we get busier, we start getting some clients, and time becomes more and more precious, because time is always our most precious asset. Then you'll do things like adding an application, so that people have to go through another step in order to get into a consult with you. Then you'll go through, okay, now I've got an application, and I know some of these people that filled out the application aren't ideal clients. You'll get to the point where you'll start telling them no, and saying, sorry, I've canceled your appointment, here's why, and here's something else in replace. You always want to add value. So it depends on the stage of your business, somewhat the answer to that question. But generally speaking, some of the criteria that I use is always, number one is this going to get me in front of my ideal audience? Or potentially it could be, does it get me in front of people who could be collaborators? Very much ties in with you. Collaborators, or people that could be influencers and make introductions for me. So target market audience, basically question, is always the number one question. The second thing that I always look at is it something that excites me? Because I want to go where I'm going to be really excited about being there. And if for some reason, maybe you don't connect with the host. For instance, I get invited to a lot of interviews and gift giveaways. Sometimes there's just something that just doesn't connect for me. And so I will usually say no to that, even if I don't know why. It's just, you know what, it doesn't feel like the right fit, and I don't have to have a reason, because it's my decision, right? So does it excite me? Am I interested in doing it? A third criteria is, what's the investment of time and money? So if you're speaking at a live event and you got to fly halfway across the country to get there, then you have to be thinking about what's the investment that I'm going to make in money, and am I going to get a return on that investment? And then also the time. So live networking events, for instance, is one of those things that it takes a lot of time. So if you're going to go speak at, let's say, a meetup group and there's going to be 12 people there, then it better be something you're kind of interested in doing and is going to be your ideal client, because it's going to eat up some time that you're going to have to give up. So those are the main three things that I look at. There may be some other little things like, do I love the host? Do I does it feel right? Those kinds of things. But the main things would be, are my target people going to be there? Is it something I'm excited about doing? And what's the investment of both time and money?
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Would anybody else add anything else? Yeah, Teresa.
Yeah. So I just thinking about what Judy said, and I get it when it's not our ideal audience, but then if she's in a webinar or a workshop tomorrow, so this is kind of where I come from on situations like that, is that I always try to find an angle. And I try to find an angle to connect with the audience, because we just don't always know. We don't know who's out there and what's going to connect. And so many times I'm so surprised. It's like, wow, okay, and I get a call or a hit from somebody that that wants to connect with me. So I just always try to find an angle for myself. And it's not a salesy thing. It's just more of just a connection, because I have to feel connected to my audience, no matter who I'm speaking to. And if I can't get that connection, then the information that I'm going to be presenting I'm going to be disconnected. So then I'm not giving value. So that's just my 2 cents.
That's great. A great 2 cents. I agree 100% with that. And what you said, you never know. Judy, you may not know that some of these people have other things going on in their life that make them want to have productivity coaching. So there may be a gem in there, even if the overall group may not be exactly your target. It's a great reminder, Teresa. Cool. What else is coming up? Other questions?
I'll go.
Yeah, go.
Well, it's my Facebook ad.
Yeah.
And I'm not discouraged in any way. It's like, it's all good. This is like this process that we're watching unfold. And they have my Carolyn Mace one inactive. It's not running. So something's wrong with the ad set. We can figure that out on Thursday.
Is it still in review?
It just says that it is, it just says something about ad set and has like a little red mark by it. I'm looking at it here right now. So that's one. Yeah. So I don't know what that's about, obviously, because I'm not as familiar. Yeah. It says delivery error. Okay.
So, so I'm going to take a poll on the group. I know not, Teresa, right now Laura's running Facebook ads. Would it be helpful for anybody that maybe wants to run Facebook ads to see what what Teresa's talking about? Or you want to move on?
We can wait. It gets kind of
I know it's kind of okay. So we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it on our one-on-one call.
Yeah.
But probably what that means is that there's something in the settings that's giving an error, because if you didn't get an email from Facebook that says your ad was disapproved, then it's not the ad itself. But the Carolyn one is the original ad that was doing so well. So that's why there's urgency to fix it.
Right.
So my request would be, if you have just 10 minutes at the end of our call today, let's look at it.
Okay.
After we get everybody else's questions answered, so that we could try to get it active and moving again.
Okay. And I just want to say the Brene Brown one is doing just the same as the Carolyn has been doing. So I haven't lost anything in that way. I did get one consultation from the Brene Brown just today, which is really cool. Yeah, so that's kind of what's happening for me in my Facebook ad situation.
That's awesome. So just to kind of catch up people, so what Teresa is doing is she's running a Facebook ad where she's offering her free gift that's around discovering your soul's purpose to a specific target, which for her, she started out starting Carolyn Meese, and then now we've added Brene Brown, and she's generating opt-ins to her list for around $1.20 or something like that, is what we've been looking at, which is amazing, I have to say. Just in comparison, I'm really happy in my business. I'm in a very competitive niche with business services, if you will, but I'm really happy if I'm in the $5 to $7.50 a lead place. So she's getting leads at 20% or less than that. So she's doing really well. And then what she's doing is on the thank you page, after they give her their name and their email, she has a video that does a little mini training about the free gift. And then at the end of the video and in the copy below the video, she offers them the opportunity to sign up for a free consult. And then of course on the free consult, she offers them whatever's the right next step for them. And we haven't updated the numbers, but the last time that we talked, she was getting about $2 in revenue for every dollar she was putting into her Facebook ads. So again, that's really good, because usually it takes the first 30 days, at least specifically, most people lose money on their Facebook ads because they're doing testing and trying to find the right audiences and trying different things. And, knock on wood, Teresa was very successful the first time out of the gates in getting people to say yes to buying something on the consults that she's scheduled. And she's ahead in terms of her stats on virtually every measure in terms of click-through rate and engagement and all those things that you track in terms of the engagement. So good, as my business coach would say, she's up from Australia. Good on you, Teresa.
Well, I couldn't have done it without you, Sharon.
Well, it's your content, my dear. It's your content. I'm just helping you put it in the framework.
I do have one thing that just popped up when you mentioned my thank you page in that video.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, Sherry, there's something energetically that's not working here. Why I get like 3 and 100 is the thing, and I'm kind of there, but there's something else, and it just got it. I think I need to redo that video on that thank you page. Energetically, it feels like that was just me in another place of kind of just awkwardness.
Yeah.
And so I'm feeling more like, anyway, you just answered something for me. So we could talk about that.
Yeah. So when you're in that place where you're feeling really centered and want to re-record it, just re-record it, re-upload it to that thank you page, and it doesn't impact anything in your Facebook ads. So it's totally, seamless.
I'm going to do that. Thank you. Okay. This
Love
was good. I'm glad I brought this up. All right.
Yeah. And the videos are really important. They can definitely help you and they can definitely hurt you. And so you do have to, if you just hate doing video, and Teresa doesn't, but if you just hate doing video, or you think you're horrible on video, or whatever that stuff is that we make up, sometimes it's better to just not do video, even though, video is obviously very, very popular these days. So
thank you, Sherry.
Cool. Good job. What else is coming up today? Yeah, Lisa.
I have a question. So what I'm hearing is $1.25 per lead, like to add a name to your email list is a really good turnaround.
Yes.
So if you were to add 500 people to your email list, you're paying almost $600 or $700 for them.
Yes. Yes. That's right. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then of course the intention is that those 500 leads turn into a proportion of them turn into buyers, whether it's because they buy something direct that you follow up with, or they sign up for a consult and they join your membership, or they do one-on-one coaching, or whatever it might be.
And what's the percentage normally of the turnaround of actual buyers from let's just use 500 person?
Yeah, so it varies based on the category you're in, but generally speaking, if you're doing a free gift to a consult, you want to have 3 to 5% of the people that opt in actually schedule a consult. Now I'm doing the consult funnel right now, because most of you, if you do a first Facebook ad, most of you would start with a consult funnel because you're selling high ticket offers. So if you're selling anything over $2,000, so for like one-on-one coaching program, anything over $2,000, you're going to want to do a consult. So Facebook ads, free gift to consult is a great first funnel. You'd want to expect 3 to 5% of the people that sign up for your opt-in actually sign up for a consult. And there's 2 ways they can do that. They can do that literally from the thank you page, which is where, in my experience, most of my people have signed up direct from the thank you page. But then, of course, we've always got a nurture series that starts once they hit opt-in, and you're going to send that 5 to 7 emails. I have a 7 email series that I have the templates for you. And you're going to send that series of emails where you're going to keep adding value, giving them more support, but then also reminding them, hey, I offered you this complimentary session. Between those two vehicles, you want to get 3 to 5% of people to say yes to a consult. So if you get 100 people, it's easier with 100. If you get 100 people, you're going to get that sign up to your email list, you're going to get 3 to 5 consults. Okay. So the other measure that we track is cost per appointment. So on Teresa's Facebook ad, her cost per opt-in is, let's just say $1, just because the numbers are easier. So her cost per opt-in is $1. So she's spending $100 to get 100 leads. Of those 100 leads, I think, again, let's use 5%. I don't think she's quite at 5%, but let's use 5% because, again, it's easier. So of those 100 leads, 5 of them are going to sign up for a consult, and then she's still spent $100. So her cost per consult is $20. So $100 she spent divided by the 5 is $20 per consult. So it costs her $1 to get a lead, $20 to get a consult. And then the third measure is how many of those 5 consults turn into clients. So let's say low end, 1 of them turns into a client. But you could be offering, you and Teresa are fairly similar, and you could offer a next step as a first time session. So that could be a $297, $397 offer, or you could be offering one-on-one coaching, which could mean multiple thousands. So even if you offer that $300 session, if one person says yes and pays for a $397 session, you've made $400 and you've only spent $100. Okay. So if you can get, if I can spend $1 and get $4 back, I'm going to do that all day long, right? With Facebook, my ultimate goal is to spend $1 and get $3 back. I've never gotten quite there, I have to be honest. I've always been in the spend $1, get $2 back. But even at that, I'm still going to do that all the time, right? Because you're making more than you spent. I'm going to stop there because there's something else I would add, but I'm going to stop there. Does that make sense, Lisa?
I just have a quick comment about the leads. Why I decided to do this too is because I did want to build my list, and paying for leads are cold. If I pay for them, they're cold, and these are warm. They've already opted in because they have something there. And so then I continue to nurture that and sell and upsell. So, and that's what I'm doing. I'm doing a $300 offer. So I'm actually spending $1 to make $3 right now, because that's what I've generated. And these clients are potentially like, yeah, I'm going to like want to go up to like the higher deal. You know, that's what I'm leveraging into. So so far it's good. It's been working really well.
Yeah. And the thing that I will just add softly here with Facebook ads, the difficulty is when you're spending at low levels, which you want to start out at low levels, right? Because you want to kind of test it out. The difficulty with spending at low levels is that your consults get spread out. Because if you think about it, if you got to get 100 people to get 5 consults, you're not getting 3 consults on your schedule a week. So that's why I typically tell people if they're going to do Facebook ads, they need to be prepared to spend around $30 a day. So it's about $900 a month, or $900 to $1,000 a month, in order to get enough traction to get leads. Now in Teresa's case, she really doesn't need to spend that much because she's getting such low cost per lead. Okay, so it depends on the segment you're in. Judy, for you, and somewhat Maylee for you, the cost per lead is probably going to be higher because Judy, you're definitely going to be competing in more of the business services, and Maylee, you're kind of on the edge, probably more. You probably would be somewhere in the middle. Now, for Laura with the Mom Empowerment, she did a free gift to consult, and Laura, my memory is we were getting something like $350. Does that sound right?
Yeah, in that ballpark.
Yeah. So she was kind of in that middle too. But honestly, with Laura, we stopped running that ad because it wasn't converting to qualified leads for consults. So we ended up going the Facebook group direction for her, which is, as you kind of heard today, has been much more successful. So it's all with Facebook ads, it's all about testing. It's all about being open to looking at things differently. And it's all about being patient, because the thing that will mess up your Facebook return the fastest is if you keep changing things. Because every time you change one little thing on a Facebook ad, Facebook starts over in terms of using their algorithms to help you find the right people. Okay. Cool.
So you kind of want to beta test it and then go bam and just run is what I'm feeling. Okay, cool.
Yeah, yes, you want to start with low cost, low investment, and then and do that based on kind of knowing what your industry cost per lead is. So like with Teresa, we started out with $5 a day, you know, and if she would have only been getting like one opt-in a day, then I would have been probably recommending faster that she increase her budget, because it would have been so slow to get 100 leads. It would have taken forever to get any good data. With me, for instance, because I'm in that $5 to $750 a day a cost per lead, I start out with $25 a day usually, just because at $25 a day, I'm still only going to get 4 or 5 leads a day. Okay. So it's all relative to based on the industry you're in as well. When you don't know, you start low. You're muted, Teresa.
I get about 7 to 8 leads a day.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Cool.
Can I ask another question?
Of course.
Are we at that space? I have a couple of questions. One is, it's about Facebook, but it's about my group.
Okay.
And it's really like, I just need a little break because I've been generating too much energy in too many directions. You know, and now we're coming up on like, you know, month or, you know, 4.5 months of just daily like, and I need to rest. And so I've been really backing off on my Facebook engagement. And of course it's, you know, it's sitting there. I mean, I'm not building, but no one's leaving. So that's good. And then some other people I notice when I back off a little bit, other people are kind of chirping up a little bit and creating more activity, which I really like. Mm-hmm. So I guess my question is, you know, for it to be sustainable for the long haul, there's going to have to be balance. Like I can't go in there every day and bam, 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 bam. Like that's not sustainable for me. So I'm moving down to maybe, I mean, I did no Facebook Lives last week, but that's okay. I'll do 1 or 2 a week, feels congruent. And then I feel like in the fall, I'll come back in with a little bit more pow, because I think what's happening here in the world is going to require and request that a little bit. Mm-hmm. I guess I just wanted a little bit of feedback, like how to sustain and maintain group engagement for the long haul. And then I have a couple other questions.
Okay. So, so first of all, congratulations, because you've built a Facebook group of over 1,000 people. It is engaged. You've monetized it, because that's one of the things with the Facebook group that's so important, is you can build a Facebook group with 10,000 people, but if you don't figure out a way to monetize it, then it doesn't benefit your business. It benefits the world, but it doesn't benefit your business. So you've monetized it with the membership, which is awesome. And I think you can continue to do that. On the engagement side, once you get to that 1,000-person level and you've created a lot of engagement at the beginning, the group can begin to take on a little bit of a life of its own. So as yours has. So it's less important that you're in there every day doing Facebook Lives every day, that kind of thing. The key is to make sure that you've got consistent things going on that are keeping the conversation going. But you're at the point now where there probably are some things that you could automate with an assistant to keep engagement open. So for instance, I know you do some question posts, you know, spending 30 minutes to brainstorm 20 different question posts that you could then give to your assistant and say, I want you to, you know, do one of these, you know, once a week, twice a week for the next 10 weeks. Okay. So then it takes the 30 minutes on your point to come up with them, but then she manages that, schedules them, And then she could even be monitoring the reactions and reacting as you for the basic stuff, and then letting you know when something comes up that you really need to personally respond to. Okay, so that's one way to keep the engagement going, to keep your face, so to speak, up front, but also have it take less of your time. And then the time that you really spend is for the Facebook Lives, which are where your group is so engaged and you're going to get the most expert status. Because that's the thing with the Facebook group is you create the Facebook group to gather people who have a common interest. And as the leader of the group, you have to always be thinking about your expert status, because if you become a member of the group, it becomes really, really difficult to monetize the group. So by you doing the Facebook Lives and standing above the rest of the group, and I don't mean that above in a, you know what I mean, then you still maintain that leadership status, so that when you do come back in the fall, and I know you're looking at perhaps a group program in the fall, when you come back in the fall and you're doing something that's maybe leading up to a launch of the group program, then they're going to know you're there, and it's going to be kind of natural for you to pop up.
Yeah, that feels really good.
Yeah, so spend a little time doing some content that can be spread out, automate it with an assistant, and use your Facebook Lives to keep yourself present and remain that expert status.
And I'm also really keen on doing an interview series that's really coming up strongly, which I know we've talked about several times in here. And of course, I need to hear things like 3 times to really get, like, when it's relevant, then my body goes, okay, I get it. But with that being said, the interview series to run it through that Facebook group, I think will also create engagement. I'm looking at doing it. And then I'll share it into YouTube and share it that way to build out YouTube too. So I think that's also another win, and we'll keep that kind of expert status, leadership, and activity moving instead of Facebook Lives.
For sure.
Okay.
Laura, is there anything, I'm curious, Laura, I'll come back to you just a minute, Lisa, any other question, but I'm curious, Laura, is there anything that you would add? I know you're having video or having a bandwidth problems, but is there anything you would add from your experience in the group in terms of kind of maintaining that presence? Because your group is very engaged. She might not be able to talk right now. Oh, there she is.
Yeah, no, I can talk. I'm just thinking about it. So I like what resonates is that idea of mixing it up. Not just lives and the ether. Things that I found is that like just being able to drop in, like, not because you have to, but because something's on your mind with just something that you're sharing, right? Like, so giving yourself permission for the freedom to share it, not on a schedule, but just like, oh, I have something to share. So what if that's how you thought about your away time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Lisa, you experienced that same thing, that your posts where you did that, where you just popped in to share something, actually got better engagement than the planned Facebook Lives in some cases, right? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm doing more just pop-up Facebook Lives too, because of that. Like, I just need to move as I feel like, oh, I want to speak now. That's more authentic for me.
Yeah. Now, one other tool that I will share that I have not played with yet, but I'm excited about the possibilities. Laura and I actually played with it a little bit on our call last week, is called Facebook Rooms. Has anybody done anything with that? Facebook has added a feature called Rooms. And basically what it is think of it as doing a Zoom within your Facebook group. So they're using the Facebook video, because they remember, you probably know that they announced that they're using Messenger for video now, and you can do that through Messenger as well. But what this is in your Facebook group, at the top of the post, it'll say, I can't remember, it says Rooms, and then it says, I can't remember what the options are, but basically one of the options when you go to make a post is Rooms. And if you click on that, you can actually do immediate, or you can schedule it just like you do a Facebook Live. But the difference is it's on video, but the other people that join the room, just like you join a room on a Zoom, you can actually see their faces and they can talk to you as well. Okay? There's a limit of 50 people. which is enough for most kind of pop-up rooms you're going to do. And there's, it's a great tool in my mind for kind of pop-up discussions or even planned discussions, or if you have subtopics. So for instance, eventually if I had a Facebook group, I might do a room and have on, like we used to do a call I called Techie Thursday. I could do a Facebook room in the group on Techie Thursday and just do it right there and not have it be a separate Zoom call and all that kind of good stuff for special interest topics. So I'm seeing there's a lot of potential ways to use it. The only downside that I've discovered so far is that frankly, we couldn't get it to allow me to join the room when Laura and I were trying to test it. So there may still be some bugs. And secondly, there's no way that I see to record it. So like with Zoom, you get the automatic recording. With Facebook, getting recordings is, I'm not sure how you'd download it, whether you'd be able to download it like you can a Facebook video. So there's still some things to work out, but I'm really excited about the possibility.
Well, and I just came up with an idea in my group for using it. So we'll keep our fingers crossed about what it is.
Yeah. We lost you, Laura. Are you there?
Is, but somebody had recommended, okay, let's all read the book.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah. So a book group would be great. A great way to use it. Absolutely. If I understood you right, Laura, that's awesome. Cool. Maylee and Judy, do either one of you have Facebook group right now?
No.
No?
Very small.
Okay.
So I'm just starting.
Yeah.
And not great engagement in there. So it's a work in progress.
Yeah, well, and I'll tell you, for starting a Facebook group, until you get to at least probably 500 members, a Facebook group is dependent on the host keeping engagement going. And it's not something that I would make the decision lightly to start a public Facebook group, because when you're first starting it, you really do need to be in the group at least 5 days a week. You need to be the one that's always starting the engagement and asking the questions. You need to be doing the Facebook Lives, all that kind of good stuff. So it does take work at the beginning. And Facebook has gone on record that groups is their future. And they're putting a lot of money into groups. The one thing that I don't like is they're actually talking about allowing advertising within groups. And I kind of don't like that idea, to be honest. Even as an advertiser, it'd probably be good. To me, I think it could really hurt groups, but we'll see on that. So Facebook groups are definitely not going away.
I have a quick comment to make.
Yeah.
Just Lisa was talking about her Facebook group, and so when I had my Instagram, I was trying to build Instagram thinking that's where my niche was, but it's not. So anyway, in the process, I had a social community manager, and he was so great. And I outsourced this actually to another country, and these young guys there and gals, and so he would say, okay, Teresa, this will be the theme, or I'd say this will be the theme this week, and then he'd put all the posts together for me and put them and do all the graphics, and then I would just have to approve them, and then boom, off they would go, right? So then I didn't have to be in there all the time, and it was such a low cost but yet high what I got from it. So anyway, just throwing that out there, and I do have some resources for those types of companies that outsource to those younger.
That's exactly what I'm looking for. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are they, do you know where they're based, Teresa?
Different. Some of them are in Venezuela. It just depends.
Okay. I shared with Lisa, because she was looking for additional VA support. I have a one-on-one client that she doesn't come to our group calls, but I have a one-on-one client that is expanding from a kind of a solopreneur content messaging agency to more of a true agency model, and she's bringing on team members. And so I had to help her interview and resource a bunch of interviews. And I met with a gal that works for a company that's US based, but all of their VAs and support people are Philippines based. And it's a pretty slick setup from what I saw. I've not used them before, but it's definitely some good resources out there. The thing with overseas support is, in my opinion, I would personally not hire anybody from outside the US unless it was on the recommendation of someone, like Teresa saying she's got some resources, or it's a company or group that manages the resources. Does that make sense?
Exactly. And so I have, my VA is actually in India. She is so efficient and smart. Like, I have to hardly explain stuff, and she just boom, she gets it. She got into my management system and she figures it out. She works for me and my boyfriend. And it is a company actually from India though, but I go to him first, and then he tells me, okay, this would be a good fit, that sort of thing. And so I've been happy.
That would be delicious.
Yeah. Yeah, there are so many options these days for resources. And again, this is another example of, sorry, my dad's phone is ringing and it's talking to me. There's so many resources now for outsourcing some of this support, and it's getting easier and easier to be able to do it actually from using overseas support. Sorry. Somebody's leaving a message. I don't know why the phone is actually talking to me. So my apologies. Cool. Okay. Anything else on that? Lisa, you had another question.
Yeah, I actually have two. I don't want to take up too much time. I'll be super duper duper quick. One quick question: with the price increase and everything coming up and shifting, would you recommend doing an email blast to my entire list to let them know, and that they can pre-purchase a certain amount of, like, a small package or something at the current rate that could be used within 3 or 6 months, just to kind of do a little revenue boost and just to really make it like a broadband announcement? Okay.
I think that's a great idea. Like we talked about with your existing clients, given the grandfather period, you could basically do the same thing with your list. Pricing increases can be a great cash infusion, because you get people wanting to buy before the price increase. Yep, I would definitely recommend that.
Okay, will do. And then the very last question is this 4-part Awaken Your Intuition series. Now that all the videos have been edited, they were all, it was live, done on Zoom. So, the video quality isn't, it isn't like, high tech it's Zoom. So the information's juicy, but it's Zoom quality, which is as good as we can get it. And then so it's 4 parts, Awaken Your Intuition. It has, each part does have a worksheet to go with it. So there's PDF involved. Now that it's there, package it. And then what do I do with it? Like, what do you charge? Where does it, I know it can be a free gift. It can be an incentive for a coaching program, but what else? What magic?
Well, the first thing that comes to me is it's a great quote unquote challenge format. So you could do I know we don't want to use the word challenge as much with your audience, but you could do a 4-part Awaken Your Intuition event, whatever the right word is, where you've already created now the training videos, the worksheets, and all you do is add on a live for Q&A each day. So they opt into it. Each day they get an email that has the training video and the worksheet. And then you do a Facebook Live in the Facebook group. But in order to get the training video and the worksheet, I would set up that they have to opt in to get it via email.
Yeah, but they're like hour long. it's a full workshop. They're hour long trainings. So it's a little bit more than just a 5-10 minute
Then that may be too much for this kind of a format. If it's an hour long, then it sounds to me like it's a course.
It's a course. It was a 4-week course.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So in that case, what I would do is look at the modules and see if there's one of them that you could pull out something that you could offer as a free gift, and then use that as the lead in to sell the course. Do you have a price point in mind that you'd want to sell the course at?
No, I don't. But isn't this exciting?
Okay, it is exciting. It is exciting.
I mean, honestly, I could do it for like a $97 sort of thing, and then I don't know. I have no idea actually.
I would establish the value higher than 97, even if you offer it at the 97 beta price.
Okay.
For the quality of the work you do and the depth of the work you do, I wouldn't have the base price be less than $497.
Okay.
That doesn't mean you can't beta sell it for 97 if you want to. But I would definitely, be saying 80% off.
Okay.
So for a $97 price point and your audience, which is pretty warm, you probably could sell it direct, or you could do Facebook Live. And what I would do is at the end, I would probably not literally go through the sell of it, but say, and I'm so excited because I just am releasing this course. It's called Awaken Your Intuition, and I've got a super duper beta price that I'm going to be offering at. If you're interested, say yes below, and I'll send you an email.
Sounds great.
Something like that. And definitely you could use it as a bonus. Going forward, you could use it as a bonus when they sign up for your membership program. You could use it as a bonus when they sign up for the group coaching program in the fall. You could use it just as an email series, because one of the things that we're all doing is we're building up our arsenal of content that when someone new joins our list, we have, in a perfect world, 60 to 90 days kind of planned out on the content that they're going to get. So they join your list and they get the email series that relates to whatever free gift, for instance, they opted in for. And then after that, they get another series that might offer them a $27 product. And then after that, they get another series that offers them a consult again. And then after that, they get something that offers them the $97 product or whatever it might be. But we've got a series of these things that we can offer people. So we're continually adding value, because in your email series, you're going to continue to add value, and then gives them a next step opportunity.
And I don't have a very succinct email series onboarding. So that needs to be priority number one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. You're welcome. Cool stuff. I love this content that's coming together for you.
I have a question about a partner and I, another productivity coach, and I are partnering on a sequence of offering a free webinar and then at the end selling a 3-part workshop on creating a 12-week plan, 12-week action plan.
Right.
And after that, hopefully offering the group coaching program.
Got it.
For the 12 weeks. And at first, when we talked about it, I wasn't that crazy about the idea because it's such a long sales cycle, like offering the free webinar to just like a few people and then a smaller percentage, would buy. It seems like not a good use of time. Has anyone done something like that?
Lisa, would you share your experience from the group and how you did your first webinar? Are you there? You're muted, Lisa. You're so muted.
Sorry, it's my pad is set weird if I hit the wrong corner. What was the question? I'm sorry.
So Judy was just asking about, doing a sales cycle of doing a webinar to an offer of a program which would eventually lead into a bigger program. And what came to my mind was what you did when you launched the membership site. So when Lisa wanted to, she did this within her group, she launched her membership site with a webinar. So she only advertised it. It was all kind of her existing traffic in her Facebook group and in her list. She just sent out emails inviting them to the webinar. What did you send? Like 3 emails, right? It was even pretty.
I sent like 3 emails and did a couple of Facebook Lives around it.
So it's invited people to the webinar. She had 97 people register. No, is that right? She had 140 people register.
Yeah, 140.
And 97 showed up live. So that's amazing, frankly. And of those 97, forgive me the numbers, Lisa, but it's somewhere around 22 people said, yeah, to her membership program.
Mm-hmm.
So small numbers can turn into big results. And the fact of the matter is, Judy, that for you, if you're doing, depends on the price point for the group program, but with your one-on-one coaching, you're at a price point where you don't need very many people to say yes to have it be a good return on your time.
Mhm.
Okay. But you are asking the right question in terms of how do I get enough traffic to the invite for the webinar so that it makes sense. I get enough traction and people in the webinar to have it make sense on the back end. Because on
Yeah,
a
the first
webinar,
webinar, 5 people RSVP'd.
okay, so that's pretty low.
Yeah, that's
Because
like,
the
not
issue,
worth it.
yeah, well, here's the issue. The people don't kind of sometimes see at the front end.
Yeah.
The results of a webinar sale, of every 100 people that register for a webinar, you're only going to get 1 to 3% of them to buy anything.
Right.
So that's pretty low. So if you've only got 5 people, and 1 to 3% of 5 people isn't even a third of a person. Now that doesn't mean you won't get a sale. You still might get a sale, but you've got to have the numbers for webinars in general to make sense.
Yeah.
Okay. On the other hand, if Lisa would have only gotten that 1 to 3% of the 140 people that registered, if it was a higher ticket sale, it still could have made a lot of sense. So it's interesting. So one of the things that's come up quite a few times today is the numbers. And at the end of the day, you've got to know your numbers, because every action you take, you need to be thinking about what's it going to take me? How many people do I need to get into a consult? Well, if I need to get 5 people a week into a consult, well, how many people does that mean that I need to either have opt into something or get in front of to ask to get into a consult? And you've got to back into those first numbers, because we can set goals of I want to have 5 consults a week, but if there's nothing driving traffic to you to have people register to get a consult, it's setting a goal that you have no chance of making.
Mm-mm.
Okay. So one of the resources that I have available, and I believe it's in the resources, but if it's not, I can give it to you, anybody. I have a little tool that I created it for Facebook. It's called the Facebook Sweet Spot Finder. And it goes through the numbers at the minute level and tells you, if you want to create, you set the goal of the number of dollars you want to create. And it tells you, based on that, what do you need to spend on Facebook? You can use the same methodology to say, if I want to create 5 consults a week, how many people do I need to get to opt in, let's say, or how many people do I need to speak to? So I have some different tools, Judy, that you can use. The revenue estimator tool is another one that you can put numbers in and make assumptions on your conversion rates at different kinds of vehicles, and it'll tell you how many people do you need to speak to if speaking was going to be your only way of generating leads, for instance, in order to create the results that you want. I'm pretty big on the numbers. You got to back into it, and it's just about being realistic and knowing, kind of where you're starting from. Now, having said all that, I'm so glad you're doing the webinar, because you learn from it.
Yep.
Does that answer your question? It's kind of a long answer to the question.
Yes, thanks.
Okay, cool.
I would love some feedback. I'm planning on doing in my Facebook group a 3-day event, partially because the whole idea of doing how I hold as like a complicated challenge was like, oh boy. So how could I get something in front of them? And my idea was to really to target moms that kids have recently come out or who still have some amount of anxiety or grief around like accepting, like they love their child and they miss their birth child.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would love some feedback on the title. I'm thinking about a couple of ones I thought of. One was Move Through Anxiety and Grief and Connect to Peace and Possibility. Another one is Break Up with Anxiety and Grief and Attract Peace and Possibility. And I'm open to other versions of things. but it does seem like, that the anxiety is something that's in front of them. And I'm not sure, it's tricky because I'm not sure they would say that they're grieving. Some would, but I think every change, whether it's with their child or it's with coronavirus or something else, every transition that you didn't ask for, brings an amount of grieving. Even the ones you did ask for brings an amount of letting go.
Right.
Can you read them again? Can you read them again slowly?
Move through anxiety and grief and connect to peace and possibility, or break up with anxiety and grief to attract peace and possibility.
Any thoughts coming up? Go ahead, Lisa.
I like number 2 better, but I still feel like it shorter. My heart is saying something that's more punchy.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I'm not clear. There's something missing. And I think it's more of, I do like the fact that it feels like, you're using some words that are linear, and then you bring in some words that are more connected in energy words. Like that's what I always think in a message, because we want to connect to both aspects of self. So yeah, I know it wasn't super helpful.
The basis is anxiety, frustration. Tell me the 2 again so I can play with it differently.
So anxiety and grief, and peace and possibility. So one of the things I wondered, Lisa, was whether there's like the tag, break up with anxiety and grief. And then there's like that's the title. And then the tagline is open to peace and possibilities.
Yeah, I think, part of it too is thinking about where you're going to use this, Laura. So if this is on the, let's say it's on the opt-in page, break up with anxiety and grief. I mean, anxiety is a big one in your group. So I think anxiety, well, that's a negative word. I think it does need to be in your title. And then, I could see your headline on your opt-in page being break up with anxiety and grief, so you can move to peace and possibility. And then it's just a little bit different font.
What about this? What about like just the pathway from anxiety and grief to peace and possibility? Just like, here's the pathway. I'm going to walk you from one to the other. How's that land?
I love that.
I like pathway a lot. Yeah. But, break up with, I like, and there's also something about it that may turn some people off.
I agree. The breakup for me was like, I kind of got this when I first heard it.
Yeah.
And pathway just feels, like you're guiding them. And so it's an open energy. Like, walk through this with me.
Yeah, and then this tweet too, it's the pathway from the anxiety of grief, because it's like grief creates anxiety, right? So the pathway from the anxiety of grief to the peace of possibility. I love playing with words. It's just my thing.
I know, I love it. That's why I asked.
And the one question I would have for you, Laura, is as you talk to people, are they gonna get the anxiety of grief versus anxiety and grief?
Yeah, I would probably stick with both anxiety and grief, because really I want to get the people that have grieving to do, but I'm not sure they'll recognize that they have grieving to do.
But they recognize they have anxiety.
It's like the hook, right? So anxiety is the hook for them to be able to consider that they have grief.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of the pathway, and I love the idea of being able to lead them through that. So Awesome.
Yeah, I think that's good. Cool. Awesome. You guys are on fire today. Any other last quick questions before we wrap up for today? Okay. So let's end our call today with each of us setting an intention for, let's see, how do I want to do this today? Let's do it. Let's do more practical or today. Let's set an intention of one thing that we're going to celebrate having accomplished on our next call. So what's one thing that you're going to declare you're going to come to the next call and celebrate?
My 3-part series will be running.
I love it. Okay.
My prices will be set on my website, communicated to my clients, and offered to my list.
You kind of snuck 4 of them in there, but I get it's all pricing.
It's the announcement of the pricing, yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, decluttering some of the activities and connections that are not aligned with my business.
Ah, love it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback with Judy, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just sift through my stuff that's not necessary and focus on, you know, not follow the squirrels.
Yeah. Love it. Okay.
I'm gonna say I've done all the videos to edit my evergreen webinar, but based on some of your suggestions the other day, I want to go back and tweak some of those and retitle the evergreen webinar and have it running in the newest version.
Perfect. Love it. Did you get everybody? I think I did. Awesome. Awesome. Well, you guys have been great today. Some great questions and covered a lot of ground. Know that if there's something that comes up, you always have access to me through the hotline to Sherry. Many of you, I have separate one-on-one calls already scheduled, and you can always reach out to me. When you're stuck is the most important time to reach out to me, because I don't want you to stay stuck. It's usually something that we can just quickly kind of get you over or through, and then you can move on towards what's next for you. Cool. Okay, everybody have a great week. Our next call is the 28th of July. And I can't wait to celebrate all of these amazing accomplishments. Okay, bye everybody.
Bye.
Yeah, sure. Teresa, you want to stay on for a minute?
Yeah.
I'm just going to shut down the
Bye,
recording.
everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Lisa.